Hi, I'm Corey.
Hi, I'm Tess.
Welcome to A Lovely Place.
We're so glad you've joined us as we invite Jesus into the midst of our lives, learning, and laughter.
We hope this podcast can encourage your heart and make you smile today.
Okay, hello, Corey.
Hello, Tess.
How
Happy
are
summertime.
you? Oh, yes. Is it nice and warm there in Spokane?
Yes, I feel a little chilled in our downstairs room because when you were here visiting, the air conditioner stopped working. Now it is working again, and downstairs is significantly cooler than upstairs. But
that's good.
Yes, it's nice and it's been nice and warm, and I like the weather. And then,
Good.
yeah,
I'm glad your AC's working again.
me too.
It was real hot.
Yes.
All right. Well, so today we are continuing our chat on end emotional eating, and we're on chapter 4, which is on emotional intelligence. And, you know, if some people aren't familiar with what emotional intelligence is, it's like being able to recognize emotions in other people and in yourself. And it's different than like IQ, you know, like your mental intelligence, I guess, because you can increase it. You can improve your emotional intelligence, which gives me hope because I always need some more of that, you know?
Yeah.
So
I was looking up a definition on Google, and it was talking about self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills.
yeah.
I was like, all righty, that's a lot going on.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, because I've done an emotional intelligence test before, and I think the book that went along with that said something about emotional intelligence is actually a better predictor of like job and life success than IQ. So it's a good thing to know about and to improve.
It's all about people, right? Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because if you can't work well with people and you can't relate well to people, it's going to be hard to move and function in the world. So
yeah.
it's a good thing
Or
to
even
have
in your own head.
Well, right. Yes.
Lord help us.
Right? Yes. Because in this chapter, she even did talk about like the way that we treat ourselves would, if we treat ourselves poorly, it would give us the same, you know, bad effect as if someone else was treating us poorly, which I don't think we actually think about. Like, you know, thinking about like, well, I would be so upset if someone spoke to me that way, but then we speak to ourselves that way, which is so, and it has the same effect. And I think sometimes we don't think about that. So
no, because we're too busy yelling at ourselves.
Right.
It's hard to have the other voice if you're only hearing that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
A friend from church, she's been doing some counseling, and she was like, I'm canceling that voice. They're fired. Like, so I was like, oh, that. And she just said it with such conviction. I was like, oh, that's really good. Like, you're fired.
Right?
You can't talk to me anymore. So I was like, all right.
That's awesome.
I need to fire some thoughts in my head. Like,
right? That reminds me of the kids movie Luca, where they're talking about like being afraid of something, and the one guy is like, I just tell him Silencio Bruno or something like that's what he's named his fearful voice, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that can be true. You know, we get to tell ourselves that voice needs to go away. So it's not like it's just something that is out of our control, even though sometimes it feels that way.
Yes. It's like, oh, all right. Complex and amazing women we are.
Yes.
That God has designed us beautifully.
Yes. So one quote that really stood out to me in this chapter was, we will never experience meaning when our chief objective is to not feel bad. I was like, oh, that's a tough one, you know, because like we don't want those difficult feelings or negative feelings. And so I think we work so hard to avoid them. That's what this book is all about. But
Yeah.
it's just interesting when you think about it in the terms of like meaning and value in our lives, like that we have to experience those things to have real meaning.
Yeah.
But it's not so fun in the moment.
Or else we'd be like robots then,
Right?
I am a robot.
Yeah. So she talks about 2 different kinds of emotions. And I think I've like touched base on this before, but it stood out to me in this chapter a little bit more than it has before. So she was talking about the emotions that we have automatically in a situation. Like we don't really control the fact that they come up.
Right.
Our primary emotions. But then the emotion that we have next in response to the primary emotion is the secondary emotion and is totally in our control, like totally impacted by what she talks about, like the way we interpret the situation, what we think about the situation, and then how we think about the primary emotion that we had.
Right.
So she brought up like the idea of feeling sad about something and then interpreting like I shouldn't feel sad, whatever, and then feeling shame or guilt over feeling sad. And that we can kind of, in that space between impact like how we feel about the feeling or how we interpret it so that the secondary emotion doesn't get out of control, or isn't it like crazy.
It's quickly dominoing to lots of other emotions on the emotion chart.
Yes.
Like, because I like how she was like, fear plus acceptance equals fear. But if you're not accepting it, then it's fear plus non-acceptance equals fear, shame, self-loathing, more fear, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Like, I just felt like it could just keep going. Like, it was like, oh, when does that train stop going? And then it was like, oh, what if you were in the moment? Like, so I think there was some light bulb moments. I will slow down. And just understanding that happened so quickly.
Yes.
Like, it's not like, oh, I'm afraid. I'm going to accept this, or I'm not going to accept that. Like that's like, it's not even. So I think that's the whole thing, right? With emotional intelligence, then you can push pause.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I feel like that was in some class we've taken.
Yes. Yes.
Before, I don't know. I feel like it was that.
I think that was
emotional spirit. What is EHS?
Yeah, emotionally healthy
spirituality.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, what I'm remembering and learning is that it's a skill, so like the more that I practice this skill of pausing and kind of like assessing what I'm feeling and then practicing acceptance, I can make that space between the primary and the secondary emotions longer, and kind of space it out so I have more time to think about it instead of immediately rushing to the secondary emotion, which I think it seems like the secondary emotions are often more of the harmful ones to our, to our day, to our self-esteem, all those other things. The primary emotion is just what it is if we would accept it, and practice acceptance.
Yes.
So,
which goes back to chapter 1, right?
Yeah.
Or no, chapter 2, accepting the idea of acceptance.
Oh, yes, that one. Yeah. I loved, she said, so too with ourselves, treating yourself the way you may treat a loved one helps you manage emotions and live productively. And that made me think of the lazy genius principle of being kind to yourself. I feel like that ties in.
Yeah. Definitely, yes. Because,
it's hard though, right?
So many things to learn, and this episode will come out later in July, but the beginning of July, my body has physically been hurting. And so that is causing a different, whatever. We're just body, mind, and soul. And when you're not working well with the one part, the other parts are affected.
Yeah.
So it just feels like, oh yeah, this is what's happening. And then trying not to be mean about myself having pain. Like, well, there's a reason, yes, but we don't have to beat Corey up about it. Corey.
Right.
Like, I feel like I'm having this conversation with myself, like, whoa, but it's just like, and then spending some more time in prayer and like, okay, Lord, what's going on? What's in my heart? What's in my body? What do I just need to sit down and rest? Do I need to change some ergonomic things at work? I feel like all of the boxes are yes, I could do all these things.
Right.
So, but
Yes,
but as we're talking about emotional intelligence, it just makes me feel like it's an illustration of how connected we are and being aware again, because that's what it seemed like. I don't know what page that was on. Talking about like your triggers or whatever. Maybe I'm jumping too far ahead, but
your vulnerabilities.
Yeah, and just like what's going on in your day, what will
So she
what's
she
that
talks
first
about
domino, which makes me think of the lazy genius. Like, well, when does it all fall apart?
Right.
Oh, let's put your backpack on the counter and then we don't have the domino problem.
Yeah.
Oh, let's put this or anyways.
Yeah. So she talks about like going through and looking at what you do every day. And this kind of goes back to like that Sunday planning episode where you write what's on your plate, right? Like, so you go through and you take inventory. It made me think of the Taking Inventory from the Rhythms of Renewal book.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to take inventory of your days and write down everything you do, and then use an N for nourishing or a D for depleting to note which activities fill you up, which activities make you feel like you're drained. And the purpose is not to eliminate every activity that is depleting, because they're going to be there.
It's
like we
called
have
life. Oh,
right. But to like, she said, increase the activities that are pleasing to you.
Yes.
And it'll reduce your level of vulnerability. So we have to pay attention to like, are we only doing things that drain us and not adding things that nourish us? You know, and if that's the case, we're going to be emotionally vulnerable, which will turn into this cycle of, you know, constantly moving into those secondary emotions that are unhealthy for us, you know?
Yeah.
And so we can take proactive steps to reduce how emotionally vulnerable we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that relates to the episode of about burnout, you know, like mom burnout, but even just burnout in general.
Yeah.
You know, there are steps you can take to reduce that, you know? So, and I loved what she said, wishing something was more enjoyable will make it less pleasant. I'm like, oh, that one hit me a little bit, because sometimes I'll be doing something and be like, I really expected this to be better than this, you know? And then it's like, and now it's really not fun. So
from like small things to big things, or were you thinking of anything in particular?
I don't, it's something I've been talking to my counselor about a lot lately. So pretty much like a lot of things, like, oh, I expected this to be more fulfilling. Like, you know, going out and doing an activity, or like, you know, things on vacation. I mean, I loved our vacation and it was really fun, but you know, like sometimes we hype things up, and then like she was saying, like dwelling on the fact that maybe you were hoping it was going to be something different will make it less enjoyable. Instead, we can practice the mindfulness piece of it, you know, and be in the moment instead of thinking about what we wish the moment was like.
Right.
So, right.
or just taking the moment for granted, I think, too. Like, how much have I missed because I'm thinking of something else that either happened before or is going to happen?
Yes.
And I'm like, well, wait a minute, what's happening right now?
Right?
Oh, I'm talking to my friend Tess on the podcast, and friends are listening. Thanks, friends. And that's a pretty cool moment to be in. And like, hey, we're learning a lot of content. Like,
yes.
What? And how cool, like, that God put those other resources that we've already been learning, and we're like stacking it on top of each other. Like, that's like, it reminds me.
Isn't that cool?
This is a transformational process.
Yeah.
Oh, is that a big word? Transformational process. We are, and now I'm feeling like back to the robot move. We are transforming. I don't know why that, whatever. The robot, maybe because I've been moving like a robot lately, is, but not like the cool dance rope. Anyways, back to emotional intelligence.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. So I love, she was talking about envisioning, like, you know, if you're having anxiety about something that's going to be coming up, like a situation.
Yeah.
You know, she was talking about thinking ahead, like I don't remember what she called it.
She said cope ahead.
Cope ahead. Yeah, there we go. So you think about whatever the situation or thing that you imagine is going to be unpleasant, and to actually imagine yourself responding well to it, you know? And so, because she said we use the same area of our brain to imagine doing an activity as we do to actually engage in that activity. Wow. And so when we think ahead that way, it can actually help us to respond differently in the moment. So if, like, you know, we know that tomorrow is a busy morning and everybody's going to be kind of grumpy, I'm going to think ahead that when my child, you know, responds with a snarky remark, here's what I'm going to say, you know.
and not be snarky back? What?
Exactly. Oh, wouldn't that be good? Yeah. So we can think differently about how we're going to respond, and that will actually help us respond differently in the moment, which seems like that should be common sense, but I don't think that we do that necessarily. You know, sometimes I feel like I play conversations over in my head after I've already had them, but I don't think I do it ahead of time.
Yeah. That is a good thing. Like, sometimes Riker and I will role play different situations. So I guess I just need to do that with myself then. Yeah. Because I'm like trying to help him, like, okay, well, what would you do on the playground that you could do differently? Right. And it's kind of retro looking backward, but I don't always know what to role play with him to help him learn.
Right.
But like, I think was an example of Thanksgiving dinner or something. So like definite food triggers of, if we're talking about eating again, oh man, like just like preparing yourself, like what is going to happen? Like, or what what is the intention of how many cookies I just was stuffing in my face a minute ago? Like, to be frankly honest, I was like, oh, there's cookies in the cupboard. And then later I told Riker, oh, you had a smoothie, you can't have ice cream. And I was like going, the little voice in my head said, how many cookies did you just eat? And I'm like, I don't know.
You're like, shh, be quiet.
I'm going to go record a podcast about end emotional eating. So, friends, I'm figuring this out as, well, I don't know. It's a lifetime of figuring out, right? Of transforming, which I'm going to just read that verse we talked about. How about that to get us on to?
I think that sounds like a good idea.
Romans, I'm in Romans 12, 1 and 2. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will.
I love that. And I think I love that, like, the Bible and science often go so well together. What, you know, like, what is that? What a coincidence, but not really. And, one thing that she said is engaging in new behaviors that are independent of your mood is one of the main ingredients in scientifically supported treatments for depression, anxiety, and marital conflict. And so she was talking about you're not suppressing your feelings, you're not avoiding them, you're being mindful of what you're feeling. And sometimes when you're really angry, your urge would be to punch someone in the face. Well, that's not going to go well for your life, right? So you can do the opposite of what you are feeling like you want to do. You're not saying, oh, I feel happy when you're angry. You're just saying, I'm really angry right now. I want to punch someone. I'm choosing to say something kind to them instead, or whatever something the opposite might be. And what I got from that is acting differently with our bodies and our, urges, and changing our facial expressions can change how we feel. And it just made me think that God cares about our bodies. It's not just about this spiritual, emotional experience. Our bodies are so integrated into that. And when we use our will to do something different with our bodies, to offer them as a sacrifice, to say, I'm not doing what I really want to do right now, I'm going to do something different, it can change the way we feel. And I don't know, that was just so powerful to me, that I have such a choice in this, when often sometimes I think our culture teaches us that you have no control over what you feel or what you want or what, all of those kinds of things.
Well, and even in the verses we read, it's like, hey, in view of God's mercy, we can do this. We can offer our bodies. It's like he helps us all the way through. And then when we accept him, he's living in us. Today is a Sunday. And so the sermon we just listened to at church, it just was talking about how Jesus came as a baby and he came to us, to earth. And I was just and he dwelt among us. Merry Christmas, Christmas in July. But it just felt like such a gift today to just be remembering that his mercy, his love, that I cannot even fathom, God of the universe, I'm going to come as a baby. And he planned it from way back when. And then Mary got to be a part of it. And then this is happening. And I'm and now here I am in 2022 talking to my friend on a computer. What? And God is here with us. That would blow their minds in the Bible. What are you talking about, a computer? And who are you talking to from far away? What? What are you saying? I'm what? I don't know. Anyway, so no matter what we're going through, he's with us. I'm encouraged today that this book is not it's helpful tools, right? And Jesus is helping me.
Yeah.
But I just feel like there's more hope to change how I view food and what I'm eating and when and why.
Yeah.
Not just rah, 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 rah.
Yes.
So there can actually be some thoughts.
Hope to change how you view yourself too. How we see ourselves and how we see our responses to things.
Yeah. And I am being transformed. We are being transformed.
Yes.
If we would just be nice to ourselves and say, hey, look, friend, you're doing it.
Right.
You had awareness you ate 3 cookies in a very short amount of time.
Yes.
Before, I would not have paid a mind to that.
Right? Yes. Or
I probably would have eaten 4 then. What? Why am I saying this out loud? Oh.
Or the self-compassion to, to with the acceptance thing, to have thoughts about things and then just to go, oh, that was a thought. There we go, instead of oh, why would you think that,
Why would you do that? You're going to go talk about this book. Oh, well, I'm learning things still.
Right? Yes. So it's good. I love this journey that we're on, and I love how God lines up all the other things to go along with what we're reading. It's good.
Yeah. And I'm glad we're reading the other book too, Lazy Genius Kitchen, because I feel like that attacks. That's a very volatile word. Attacks this situation with a different fervor from the other side of it. Like,
yes.
So eventually we're going to smash it together and then we're going to be clapping and dancing. Now we're back to the robot.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
If only you could see me now, friends.
All right. Well, everyone, our next episode will be on part 2 of the Lazy Genius Kitchen, and we're looking forward to chatting again. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.